Ndiri kukwira munzira Yekudenga misi yese Ndichi namata munzira Tenzi ndikwidzei kudenga Ndisimudze ndimise nerudawira kudenga panzvimbo yakakwirira Tenzi ndimise kudenga Ndiri kukwira munzira Yekudenga misi yese Ndichi namata munzira Tenzi ndikwidzei kudenga Ndisimudze ndimise nerudawira kudenga panzvimbo yakakwirira Tenzi ndimise kudenga Handidi zvangu kugara apo pane kupokana asi vamwe vangagara ini ndinoda kusoro ndisimudze ndimise nerudawira kudenga panzvimbo yakakwirira Tenzi ndimise kudenga ndoda kugara kudenga kana satana ndinetsa rudairo rwangu rwese rwekugara kudenga ndisimudze ndimise nerudawira kudenga panzvimbo yakakwirira Tenzi ndimise kudenga ndoda kukwira kumusoro ndione kupenya kwenyu ndinonamatira kuti Tenzi ndimise kumusoro ndisimudze ndimise nerudawira kudenga panzvimbo yakakwirira Tenzi ndimise kudenga ndisimudze ndimise nerudawira kudenga panzvimbo yakakwirira Tenzi ndimise 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 kudenga.
Hello and welcome, my dear brothers and sisters, to this very exciting program where we are having a special interview with one of our dearest pastors who's been in service for over 39 years, almost going towards 40 years. That is none other than Pastor Burns Musa Sibanda. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you so much.
Now, you are here for a very special reason. And I think that it's important what you have done. And I am trusting that this program is going to inspire many, many more people to, to come up with a prized possession like what I'm holding in my hands today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I fully introduce our guest today, I would like to have you have a look at this wonderful prized possession. And as you can see, it's written, The Intervention. It's a book, I think it's phenomenal in this time and age, and we'll explain why we think it's phenomenal. But it is a book that you have written.
Yes.
And perhaps before we talk about this book, it's exciting when I think I mentioned to you that I'm very perfectionist. Whenever I'm reading a book, sometimes I can't go beyond the first 2 pages because I'm distracted by all the language and grammar and diction and everything. But this book was well done and obviously well edited by the editing team.
Thank you for the compliment.
No, pleasure. Now, Pastor, tell us, while we are, perhaps before we go into the book, tell us who is the man behind this great book, The Intervention.
I'm an ordinary Zimbabwean.
Right.
Yes. I have been a member of the church, of course, worked for the church.
And that's the Seventh-day Adventist
the
Church?
Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Yes.
For a number of years. I've been in, most of my assignment has been in financial management.
Right.
Managing the finances of the
church. In other words, you are an accountant by profession.
I'm an accountant by profession.
And I noticed just from a bit of your history, you have been serving as a chief finance officer for different union conferences.
Yes, I served as chief finance officer for the Zimbabwe Union Conference for 12 years.
Wow.
And then I was asked to go and serve in Angola.
In Angola, which is the setting of our exciting journey which we are having, right?
Yes.
And so you were here in Zimbabwe for 12 years.
Yes.
And in Angola, you have been there. I believe you are still serving as a chief finance officer.
I am still serving as chief financial officer, and in 2022, this is going to be my 12th year as well.
So 24 years altogether.
24 years
That
altogether
is
serving at the level of chief financial officer at the union level.
At the union level. Well done, well done.
Yes.
And we thank God for the dedication and obvious ministry that you are giving to the church.
It has been a blessing to me.
Now tell us a little more about you. Where do you come from? We just hear you're Zimbabwean, you've served here, you served in Angola. Where were you born? Where did you go to school, etc.?
I was born in the Midlands province, and I did my primary school at, then it was a Seventh-day Adventist primary school, Donsa.
Right.
Yes, Adventist primary school. And then I went to Lower Gwelo Mission, where I started up to grade 7 then. And then I went to Fletcher High School.
Fletcher High in Gweru.
In Gweru, where I did my secondary education.
Right.
And then after that, I went to Solusi College then.
Yes, the mighty Solusi.
Yes, and did a diploma in business.
Excellent.
And then worked in government a bit, and then joined the church as assistant manager, actually managing the Adventist Book Center in Harare. I was the first.
The ABC.
I was the first manager of the ABC in Harare.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, excellent.
Yes.
So I can say you have probably served the church, as I've said, like probably for almost 40 years now.
It's almost 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Next year, June, I'll be completing my 40 years.
Amen for that.
Service.
So that gives us the background to this story now that we are going to be looking at as we review your book, Intervention.
Yes.
All right. Now, Pastor, tell us something. Have you always thought that you would author a book, or you are one of those where they say, you must write a book, and you don't really feel that there is anything pushing you to write a book and to send something out there?
I never thought I would write a book.
Right.
Well, at times I've thought about writing a book, maybe on church administration,
right?
Because after
many years of
service in and serving in administration of the church,
Yes.
there are you gain so many experiences, and then you have so many insights,
Right.
and you think
You
maybe
think you could
could
help
share.
someone, of
yeah,
course.
you could help someone, but this was totally.
So you needed a turbo boost.
Yes, this
right.
was a turbo boost.
No, we praise
Yeah.
the Lord for that. So, saints, as you can see, Pastor Sibanda is very well versed in church administration, very well versed in church ministry, has been a part of the administration for almost 40 years. And so clearly whatever we are going to be reading from this book, and I would encourage everyone to get a copy of this. It's, you know, I was just saying to Pastor Sibanda, it sounds like an action drama. You know, when you're reading it, you can't wait for the next thing. And so I would encourage everyone to get a copy of this. We are not going to go through the whole book, because obviously the details would require, I'm sure, a week's review.
Yes.
But however, let's get straight into the book, because
Yes.
I'm excited to get
Yes.
into it. Okay,
Yes.
now let us know the introduction of the book. What would you like? Why did you write this book? What do you want the readers to get? Is this, like I said, an action drama? Are you the hero in the story, or what were you seeking to bring out to your readers and to the saints out there?
For me, this is a personal testimony
Right.
of how God can still act in our present time. That our God is still alive and present, and intervenes in our daily experiences.
In this generation.
In this generation, he is not historical, that whatever he did in the past only happened then. For me, in this book, in a way, when you read the book of Acts of the Apostles, I would say this book becomes
It's an extension.
Is another chapter
Right.
of the Acts of the Apostles. And I believe that I'm not the only one who has had an experience with God, who God has allowed to have an experience that you would want to share. There are many who have had experiences, and I believe that if all of us were given opportunity to write, or had the courage to start writing, there is so much we can write about God.
I love what you say. Yeah, no, I love what you say when you say if people can get the courage to write. Sometimes I feel as Africans, we don't write enough. We don't document enough. And I don't know if everyone is waiting for a turbo boost, you know, to say, have this great experience, and then it inspires. And some people still, they get wonderful experiences, but they still don't write. So I think to our listeners, from what Pastor is saying, I would adjure you, I would absolutely beseech you, whatever experience that you're having in your life, it will be a testimony for someone. It will be something that will inspire someone else. It will be something that will strengthen them in their faith. And as you will see as we are going with the review of the book, you will understand why a man such as Pastor felt compelled to give this testimony. And as he has said, it is not that he comes out as the hero of the story. The true hero is God, because he's the only one who can intervene whenever something goes wrong. And in ministry, something is always bound to go wrong. Is that not so?
Yes.
Okay, now let's move on. Let's move on quickly. Please, can you tell us a brief summary of what is in this book? Just a brief summary from beginning through to end. We'll touch a little on the, a few nuggets and a few details as we go along. But just let us know, what is this book about?
This book is about what happened to us, or as church leaders serving in Angola, I'd say from year 2015
Yes.
up to up to 2019,
Right.
something very, in a way, very shocking
Right.
happened.
Yeah.
Because as church leaders, we were accused of kidnapping one of our own.
One of your own.
Yes.
Not someone from outside.
No, one of our own.
Now,
A field president.
now from my knowledge,
Yes.
from my knowledge of church structure, you have the president,
Yes.
you have the chief finance officer,
Yes.
you have the executive secretary.
Yes.
Right. So you are the chief finance officer.
Yes, I was
So
chief
one
finance
of the
officer.
top three,
Yes.
chief finance officer, one of the top
Of the
three
union.
of the union.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now there is you are being accused of kidnapping
A field president.
A field president.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now the fields feed into the union, into the
Yes.
union. Is that
Yes.
not so?
Yes.
Right. So you were accused of kidnapping.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. If I could use this word, I would say it's discombobulating, shocking, flabbergasting.
Yes.
For pastors to be accused of something, it's a huge accusation.
It was very huge. Yeah. And you can imagine the devastation that it brought into the church.
Obviously, into the church.
Because now you have the field president accusing the union leadership of orchestrating his kidnapping.
Now, just for the sake of our listeners and our viewers, the dear saints out there, you've got the mission, right?
Yes.
And then you have the field.
Yes.
Is that not so?
Yes.
Can you just explain the connection in perhaps juxtaposed to the union conference and the conference? Yes.
The conference, the local field mission,
Yeah.
is not self-supporting.
Right.
When it is a local conference is self-supporting.
Yes.
Financially.
Right.
And it has administration that is mature, that can handle
So in
issues
other words,
of the
a
constituency.
field president is equivalent, in a sense, to a conference president.
Yes.
In a sense, just
In
so
a
people
sense
can
it
understand
is.
what we are talking
Yes,
about.
in a sense.
When they become independent, they become a conference.
Yes,
And
yes.
then the mission becomes
a local
union conference.
Yes. Then the union will become a union
A
conference.
union conference,
Yes,
exactly. So
yes.
you are at the union level.
Yes.
And we are talking of, say, a conference
Yes.
president here.
Yes.
Okay, just
Yes.
this is so that our listeners can understand the relationship.
Yes.
All right. And so you have the union officers
Yes.
being accused of kidnapping a field president.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
To what end? Was there a reason to say why did they think you abducted him, you kidnapped him? What did they say you were trying to achieve?
Actually, when it started off, we received a report
Right.
that the field president had been kidnapped.
Right. So it was a fact he was no longer at home.
Yes, he was no longer at home.
Right.
The wife phoned and said, my husband has been taken away by some people. We don't know where they have taken him. And later on, there were phone calls asking for ransom. And the ransom...
A real ransom?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, this is
and the
exciting.
ransom was 100 million Angolan kwacha, which was at the exchange rate then
Yes.
would have been equivalent to $1 million
Has
US
been
dollars.
$1 million US dollars
Yes.
was the ransom.
Yes, was the ransom.
Wow.
And the appeal was that the church
Yeah.
was to give that money to the brother of the kidnapped pastor so that he would go and
do the negotiations.
And do the negotiations and pay the kidnappers.
That is very interesting.
Yes.
So we have a pastor who has been taken.
Yes.
And then, so did the kidnappers communicate with the church? Or it was just perhaps the family that was communicating with the church?
It was the family, really, because the family would say he called, he was calling the family. Yes, he was calling the family. And then at one point, he called the union president, who was then Pastor Achalinga.
Right.
He called him and told him that he was still waiting.
And Pastor Achalinga is from Zambia, correct?
Yes.
Right.
He is a Zambian national.
Right.
Yes. But he was serving there as a missionary as well.
As well as you.
Yes.
Okay.
So this pastor called him and told him that he was still waiting for the church to pay the ransom so that he could be released.
So this is interesting. He had his cell phone with him.
He had his cell phone with him all the time. And he was
free to phone.
Yes, he was free to. I would say he was free to phone because this was over a period of 3 days.
So did the church?
So then that he must have been recharging his cell phone.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
What was the response from the church?
Well, the church, as you know, how the church functions. The church money can only be released with committee actions.
Yes.
And so no one has authority to
sign off a check.
To sign off a check or to pay out without any authorization. So
we thank God for church protocol.
We just told them that we could not pay with church money because we had not received any authorization.
Right.
And the authorization had to come from the division office. Southern Africa Indian Ocean Division was the one who was supposed to authorize
the
release of any payment. But even then, that would have to go through committees.
Of course.
And so it was something that we could not do without authorization from committees.
And the church is obviously not in the business of paying ransom to kidnappers, you know. But did you feel that, you know, because sometimes people then are forced to pay something if they feel that the life of the kidnappee, if I can call them that, is in danger. Did you at any point feel that the field president's life was in danger?
Well, it was difficult.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult moment even for us.
True.
Because even when we had doubts that maybe it was all a hoax, there would be a feeling that maybe
you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
This could be true.
Reality, it could be.
Maybe he would be killed.
Now,
maybe.
I skimmed through.
So it was a very difficult time. But of course, we had to follow church protocol. Even as we sympathized, much as we sympathized, it was not our money.
Yeah.
We could not pay.
And we thank God for church protocol because the money doesn't belong to an individual. It belongs to the world church.
Yes.
And so you have to follow, you know, whatever the administrative protocols before anything happens.
Yes.
Now, I went through a little, you know, I haven't had time to go through in detail, which I will immediately after this interview.
Yes.
But as I was going through, skimming through, I realized that, you know, there was no holds barred there. You were saying it as it is. Did you feel that was important for you to say the truth without trying to cover up? If somebody did wrong, even if they were in church administration, you went right for the jugular. You You really were direct about it. Was that important to you?
I think I wanted to be as truthful as can be, because for me, this testimony is not about me.
Yeah.
It is about God.
Yes.
And so if God allowed events to occur the way they did,
and to be reported.
I have to report them the way I saw them. Because I'm giving a testimony about God.
That's the reality of Christianity. You know, the Lord never.
You don't cover up. The Bible
didn't gloss over David and Bathsheba.
The Bible does not gloss over evil. It just exposes it as it is.
But God comes out triumphant.
Yeah, but God comes out triumphant.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
Because the great controversy, the battle between good and evil, is real. And so it's not something that we have to gloss over. And
I noticed that it was, you know, the way that you put things across. You actually mentioned that you cried several times. There were times when your emotions took over you. I mean, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It was real.
Yeah.
Going to jail was real.
Tell us about going to jail now.
I was in prison. A real prison. Not a fake one. Yeah,
So
I had to endure the pain of being a prisoner. In prison clothes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And all the garb.
Yes.
So this pastor is reported to have been kidnapped.
Yes.
You are receiving that report.
Yes.
How did the story turn now to say you were the kidnappers? You know, I think it was you and maybe 6 other people. How did it then turn around that now you were the accused in the kidnapping?
You see, when the whole thing failed, because after 3-4 days, the pastor came back. After he realized, after there was a realization that
no money is coming.
No money is coming, he came back home.
Unharmed.
Unharmed. With the computer bag that he had been kidnapped with, his cell phone, everything,
chargers, everything.
Yes, everything. So he came home after 4 days.
And then what happened?
We were happy that he was back home.
Of course.
But then we received a letter.
Right.
A letter purported to have been written by one of his relatives. Who alleged that the whole kidnapping had been staged by the family.
Oh, that it was a hoax?
Yes, that it was a hoax staged by the family in order to extort money from the church.
No.
So when we received that letter, that is the letter that now turned everything around. Upside down now, because after that letter came out, he accused us of writing the letter.
Oh, that's when it turned around.
Yes, so he accused us of writing the letter so that he accused us of trying to incriminate him. And so,
So tell me though, when he was released, obviously no money came from the church. Was there any money which was paid to the kidnappers? Kidnappers?
Well, the family said they had paid.
Oh.
They told us that they had paid 30 million, which was an equivalent of $300,000 then. They said as a family, they had put some money together and paid. They had negotiated the ransom down from the 100 million to 30 million, and then they had paid that 30 million.
Now, we are not going to venture into the veracity of those payments or alleged payments.
Yes.
But tell us now, were you arrested by the police? How did this become a police issue?
Because now, when he started alleging that we had been involved in his kidnapping.
Yes.
Then
Obviously, investigations had
investigations started.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they picked up a church member.
Right. Not one of the accused.
Well, he became one of the accused.
Or he
anyway.
then became, okay.
He became one of the accused. But in his testimony,
Yes.
this man, he says when he was picked up by the police, or even with the pastor together,
Yeah.
they said he should confess to the police that he is the one who had been sent by the church, by the pastors,
Yeah.
by us,
Yeah.
to go and kidnap this failed president, so that in his narration he says because we wanted him removed from ministry, because otherwise he was going to take our position at the union. And so in a way he says now this was
Became political.
this was political,
So,
church politics.
You know, when you mentioned that,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
it seems like it's a light thing. But I understand that this young man who was picked up was actually tortured.
Yes, because from his own account,
Yes.
to me,
Yeah.
he says when he was the first time when they talked to him, they said, we will offer you 50 million, which was an equivalent to 500,000
Yes.
US dollars.
At the same rate.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you are going to confess, that you are the one who was hired by these pastors to kidnap, we would give you this sum of money, and then we will give you an apartment as well, a 3-bedroom apartment as well.
Is there that much money
but they said,
in Angola?
yes. Oh, of course, the money is there. Then they said, you do not have to worry. You will be taken to court. You will be sentenced. Yeah, you'll give your testimony, and then you'll be taken to court. You'll be condemned, but maybe
you'll come out somehow.
You will come out somehow. We will make sure that we bring you out of prison somehow.
Right.
But anyway, what is important for us is to make sure that we can put our hands on these pastors.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Now, I think it's time for us to take a commercial break.
Yes.
And we'll come back and talk more about now the details of the trial, of the arrest, of the investigations, and ultimately what happened.
Yes.
To our dear listeners, we are reviewing the book, The Intervention, from written by our very own Pastor Burns Sibanda. An amazing thriller, almost, I can dare to say. And once again, we encourage you to get your own copy. The details, we can never finish them here, but it is an exciting and inspiring testimony of how God is still working in his church in this generation. Welcome back, my dear brothers and sisters. We are back to reviewing this amazing book, The Intervention, which might be actually, one of its own, one of its kind, because we haven't quite had something like this where we are candidly talking about issues that sometimes happen within our church and our church ranks. And I will welcome back again Pastor Burns Musa Sibanda, who is the author of this phenomenal book, and it's something of an expose, I might say, you know, not only of, you know, some of the faults that may occur within our church, but also in government, in the courts, you know, and also just once again, how God shows himself victorious in the affairs of men. Now, we were talking about you having been, you know, arraigned perhaps, or you know, you were taken into custody. You were investigations went on. After that, there was the trial. And from my brief review of the book, you were not very confident with the court system. You know, not only the prosecutor, but also the magistrate who was presiding, etc. What briefly happened with the trial? Why were you not so confident of the system?
I think what really, because I knew we were innocent.
Right.
And there were no facts.
Right.
Really, any tangible facts.
Yeah, or evidence.
Evidence.
Yeah.
That would condemn us, because we had done nothing.
And yet,
and so for you to be taken to court when you know that I have done nothing wrong,
and you know,
and now all of a sudden people are building all these stories, then you know that there's something wrong.
What I find interesting, you know,
Yes.
in court lingo,
Yes.
we say you are innocent until you are proven guilty. So it's really the case of the state to prove your guilt.
Yes.
But the hardest thing to happen, you know, in a court system is when you're trying to prove your innocence. And you know you're innocent, but it seems like everything seems to be going against you. That can be tough.
It can be. Actually, I think it's very frustrating.
Yeah, right.
It is very frustrating because I think our biggest challenge is that it was now the police investigation that seemed to be really pitted against us.
Wow.
And then the prosecution was pitted against us.
Wow.
And the judge.
And there was a...
So it was like everybody.
In all that, there was some... just a minute, Pastor. In all that, there seemed to be some innuendo that they were not happy that you were Adventists and that your mission work or your missionary work within the country was very successful.
Of course, that was an issue that came out clearly when the prosecutor asked us why so many people were leaving their churches to join our church.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
wow.
So I mean, if you're being accused of kidnapping one of your own, and then now you're being asked why are so many people leaving their churches to join your church?
Converted?
So you say, so what's the relation?
You see that the agenda might be much bigger
than just
the case.
That's what showed us that the agenda was much bigger.
Wow.
Than what we were being accused of.
Yeah, you had Luanda for Christ.
Yes.
You had Mission to the Cities.
Yes.
Was it very successful in Angola?
Yes.
So would that frustrate other, you know?
Yes, of course, that would have frustrated other powers.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
okay, so how did the trial come out? How did it pan out? Were you acquitted at that stage? What happened?
Actually, the trial, like I have said, it was a sham trial.
Right.
Because the accusations could not match up.
They were ridiculous.
They were ridiculous because the kidnapping happened in 2015.
Right.
And then the trial only started in in September of 2017.
No.
Almost 2 years after. And so in those 2 years,
Yeah.
they were trying to piece together
Put together a case.
a case. So
Wow.
they're trying to piece together a case.
Yeah.
And so, when you are trying to piece together something after in that long period.
Yeah.
A
A stitch or two would drop.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there was some things that were not matching.
Right.
And so our lawyers just pointed to those glaring
Right,
mistakes, which to me, those mistakes, because some of the mistakes were just silly mistakes.
Right, right,
Collaborating in the dates, like somebody said, the case was reported, or the kidnapping occurred at 7.
Yeah.
And when you say at 7 in Angola, they use the 24 hour.
24 hours,
So at 7, it
the
would be in the morning.
I see.
Otherwise, 7 in the evening is 19
So the
hours.
nitty-gritties became a problem.
Yes, the nitty-gritties became a problem.
Yeah.
Because someone would say the kidnapping happened at 7, and the other one says it was in the evening. So there were all those inconsistencies.
I see.
So
Now
even the police were confused.
I understand that at some point the state or the prosecution wanted to withdraw the charges against you because there was no evidence.
That is what the prosecutor said
But
right at the end.
But ultimately you were convicted.
We were ultimately convicted.
And sentenced. What was your sentence?
I was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison.
Oh, in with labor.
Yes, with labor.
In with labor.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And so, obviously, how did you take that? How did you take that conviction? You must have been confused.
I was very much confused. I was devastated.
Wow.
Because I was concerned about my wife, because
Sure.
we were foreigners, we were in a foreign land.
Yes.
And now leaving my wife alone in a foreign land, and now I'm a prisoner, helpless, no way of defending her.
Yeah.
That hit me.
Wow.
That hit me very hard.
Yeah.
Yes. And
As a family leader.
yes.
Even just thinking of as a church leader.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's quickly move on to your prison experience. I know you can't tell us everything.
Yes.
We're hoping, to our listeners, we're hoping that we will be able to have perhaps a second part of this, review and interview to sort of see all the other peripheral
Yes.
issues. Clearly, you mentioned your wife.
Yes.
That's a very big issue, you know,
Yes.
when someone is going through a trial
Yes.
and or somebody has been imprisoned.
Yes.
Obviously thinking that there are children also involved, relatives,
Yes.
even finances, you name it,
Yes.
all that, and the church at large,
The
right?
church.
So perhaps we won't have time for that now, but hopefully we'll have time for that in the future. Now, tell me what happened in prison, just very briefly.
We were taken
Wow.
to prison on a Friday afternoon.
Right.
And on that Friday afternoon, you, with all those emotions,
Yes.
as we were put into the cell,
Yeah.
the cell we held about 30.
One cell.
Yes, one cell was for about 36 prisoners.
That's harsh.
So as we were taken to that cell, in those cells, there are no blankets, there's no linen.
Wow.
And so they just give you, there's a bed, some old mattress, torn, everything.
Wow.
But when we got into the cell,
something magical happened. What happened? Something beautiful.
A young man
Uh-huh.
just came up to me and
Yeah.
said, you can use, he addressed me as a father. He said,
Wow.
Father, you can use my bed.
Wow.
That was the best bed in that cell.
Oh, wow.
It had clean linen,
Yeah.
it had a mosquito net, and he said,
Wow.
you are welcome to use my bed.
Wow. Now, did that not look to you like a silver lining? You know, sometimes things are so tough and so hectic and heavy and depressing, like what we are going through.
Yes.
And you must have thought that, Lord, what does this mean? Surely you would be doubting your relationship with God or His presence.
Yes.
What did that
of
say
course,
to you?
it's doubting the presence of God
Yeah.
at times like that.
Yeah.
You say, where is God?
Yeah.
But then, when that young man
Came
offered me his
through.
bed, I asked for his
Wow.
name.
Uh-huh.
And he said his name was Emmanuel.
No.
Yeah,
God
and so
with us.
that name,
Wow.
that name
God with us.
assured me that I was not lost. I was
Wow.
with Emmanuel.
That he was
And
with
he
you.
had prepared a bed for me.
Oh, wow.
in prison.
To say rest.
Yes.
Rest a while.
Yes. So,
Amen.
so from that moment,
You were at ease.
I was at ease.
Amen.
I knew I was at the right place
At
at
the
the
right
right
time.
time. Yeah.
Wow. And you mentioned something earlier.
Yes.
That you actually got a baptism in prison.
Yes.
No, tell us
Yes.
about that.
We were, like I said, we were imprisoned on December 29.
Right.
And then on January 5, a baptism had been arranged before.
Had been scheduled before
It
you
had
got
been
there.
scheduled before we got
But
into
they didn't
prison.
have a minister.
They had ministers.
Uh-huh.
They had ministers who were going to come and baptize.
Right.
But when the ministers came, because we were already there in prison, the ministers came.
Right.
Then they said, no, you're already here.
Yeah.
You can baptize also. And so
Right.
they offered me
Wow.
a robe
Wow.
so that I could baptize.
From the prison robe to a baptismal
Yes,
pastoral robe.
So I put on the pastoral robe
Amen.
on top of my prison garb and went into the baptismal tank.
Yeah. And you baptized.
And baptized.
Hallelujah.
So
No,
on January 5, 2018,
Bless.
on a Friday,
Ah.
I baptized.
What
I
a
would say
testimony.
maybe the first person to be baptized in 2018 was baptized by me
By you in prison.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. No, you know, God is amazing. And I think that must
and
have...
so that confirmed my ministry.
And that must have told you, it must have given you an idea of what was going to happen when you appealed to the Supreme Court. Because as we know,
Yes.
that's when you were acquitted.
Yes.
And all charges were dropped. And,
Yes.
you could walk free as a man.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, I find that interesting. And I think to our listeners, it is very, very clear that under these embarrassing, do you know, it's actually quite embarrassing to say pastor was arrested, because a lot of people are suspicious and they say,
Yes.
there's no smoke without fire. By
Yes.
their fruits you shall know them. People start having all these all these different quotations,
Of course.
But just knowing that in those difficult and terrible situations, God will give you a little silver lining, and He will show you the way. You might not see it because we walk by faith, not by sight.
Yes.
But when He then comes through victorious, now you can look back and see, oh, why was that young man there? Why did he offer me a bed? Why was his name Emmanuel?
Yes.
You name it.
Yes.
Now tell me something though. I noticed that throughout your testimony, you were mentioning the church because you are a church employee.
Yes.
I want to know whether the church was there for you. Can you say because someone out of that situation, if they had been handled wrongly, that's the reason for people leaving the church. They don't leave the church because of the doctrine, but they leave the church because they felt alone, you know. Did you feel alone? Did you feel that, you know, you were still part of a community? What was the role of the church?
We got assurance.
Wow. From where?
From the General Conference.
And that's the top body.
We got assurance
in the church.
Yes, from Pastor Ted Wilson.
How?
He communicated.
Wow.
He actually sent Pastor Solomon Maposa,
the president of SID.
The president of SID,
wow,
to come and visit us in prison.
And he came to prison?
And he came to
Amazing.
Prison to visit us.
Wonderful.
And he told us that he had been sent by
President Ted Wilson.
By President Ted Wilson.
Wow.
To come and assure us
wow,
that the church was standing in solidarity with us, and the church was going to make was going to make all the appeals necessary. Wow. Even appealing to the International Court of Justice. The church was prepared to do that.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And obviously, if there's that kind of intervention
yes.
from the General Conference, from the division, you know that it had become a concern worldwide.
Worldwide.
It was an issue which
yes.
the church was looking at from a global perspective.
Yes, and of course, Pastor Ted Wilson made an appeal to the whole world to pray for the pastors imprisoned in Angola. And so that gave us an assurance that we were being prayed for.
Right.
At every second,
wow,
we knew that there was an appeal
that was going on.
That was going up to God.
You can be sure of it. I was part of that because I heard of
yes.
it when we were at the executive
committee. And I'm sure that a lot of the viewers were.
No, absolutely.
Yes, yes,
wow.
Yes.
And were you assisted financially? Like you talk of lawyers and who was paying for your lawyers?
The church paid for the lawyers.
The church was paying for the lawyers?
The church was paying for the lawyers.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Well, you know, that excites me. You know, it makes me proud to be part of the Seventh-day Adventist
yes.
Church because,
yes.
you know, you will never walk alone. We won't
yes.
say where that comes from, but
yes.
you are not walking alone. Not only is the Lord with you, but the church body is fully supporting you.
Yeah, to know that my church brothers, my fellow brothers
are with me
worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. But I cannot conclude this interview without asking you about your personal feelings and your personal emotions. Like, what would you like our viewers to learn from your experience? And what is the way forward? You know, because in law, we have the part where someone falsely accuses you. It's actually a crime, falsely accusing someone of doing something, right? And it's also perjury. You're lying under oath. So has anything happened, you know, in terms of retribution to the pastor concerned? And you as an individual, you know, do you feel that justice has been done just by your acquittal? Do you feel that, you know, everything now is fair and square?
Well, looking back, and really I have no bitterness.
Right.
Within me, because for me it has become very clear that this was the Lord, the Lord intervening,
right,
for His work in Angola,
yeah,
because the negative publicity that we got during the trial. Now, with the acquittal, tables have changed.
Amen. Amen.
Our relationship. Now, I have a personal. The Attorney General of Angola.
Yes.
Is a friend of mine now.
A friend, wow.
Is a friend of mine.
And you have a testimony.
Yes.
And you have a book.
And I have a testimony.
Wow.
So in many ways, I can say this was just the Lord.
Amen.
And so I was an instrument in his hand.
Yes.
And so I can only give him glory and honor, and I am not bitter.
Amen.
I am
Amen.
not bitter.
And the pastor concerned, is he still serving? What has happened to him?
No, he is no longer serving.
He's no longer serving.
Yes, of
obviously.
course. He was taken out of the ministry, and
have any legal charges been pressed against him?
They are still pending.
They are still pending.
Yes.
Any defamation claims that are being made against him and his team?
No, we are not making any defamation claims.
Because, the person who was defamed was Christ. And
Yes.
he came through
And
victorious.
He came
Amen.
through victorious.
And so, what this teaches me. Thank you so much, Pastor, for just sharing this testimony and actually documenting it. Amen. So that all those who would want to read the full story of what happened are able to do that. But this, to our viewers, is true evidence and true testimony that God says when the devil comes in like a flood, the devil is real. When he comes in like a flood, he will raise a standard. And
Yes.
the standard is a battle cry. It's a flag of a war leader who says, right, this is what you have planned, but I have something else coming your way.
Yes.
And I thank God for that. And this, I believe, is a huge testimony of what God can do today. And so anyone
Yes.
who is suffering or anyone who's going through a hard time in this generation, in this age, in this Laodicean age where we are waiting for the second coming of Christ,
Yes.
the Lord is still mighty to save. And his testimony and his law and his victory is sure. May the Lord bless you, and may the Lord continue to guide you. And may you be inspired to go and purchase this book and many other books which are being written, which will strengthen our faith and which will show us that surely, even though we are going through this battle, the Lord is a victorious God and he is mighty to save.
Thank you.
Ndinoda kutaura kuti ndaponeswa ngero paro pamsana popemudza wake ndichagara kumusha ndaponeswa ngero parake renyenye ndaponeswa Ndichiri mwana wake ndinofara ngekuti Jesu auya kundiponesa ngekuti kupenya kwakeko kuri kunditungamira ndaponeswa ngero parake renyenye Ndichiri mwana wake ndinotondera muponesi ndichiri kufunga ndiye ndiri kuimba nguva dzese ngerudo rukuru rwake ndaponeswa ngeropa rake renyenye Ndichiri mwana wake Ndichamuona mambo wangu Ndoita mutemo wake Achiri kunditungamira Dakara kumusha kwake ndaponeswa ngero para kerenyenye Ndichiri mwana wake chiripo chiremba kudenga chinondimirira ini tichaenda ngekukasika kumusha wake wa Tenzi. Ndaponeswa ngero parakere nyenye. Ndaponeswa Ndichi mwana wake. Ndaponeswa ngero parakere nyenye. Ndaponeswa Ndichi mwana wake.